Says recording in progress.
Yep, we're
Oh,
live. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 1st, 2025 Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Virtual Committee meeting. The committee meeting can be viewed on HPA-TV, Comcast, and Frontier Government Channels 96 and 6032. The meeting is also streamed via hpa-tv.org, HPA-TV Facebook page, HPA-TV Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon app. Also, the virtual committee meeting will also be rebroadcast and made available on HPA-TV YouTube channel. So again, good evening, everyone. My name is Councilman Shirley Surgeon and Vice Chair of the Planning, Economic Development, Housing Committee. We're joined with the other uh, Vice Chairperson, Councilman John Gale. We're also joined by committee member Majority Leader Rossetti. We're also joined by committee member Councilman Josh Mitchum. And of course, we have our esteemed Corporation Counsel, Corporation Counsel Richard Valasso have joined us, along with other various community residents, City of Hartford uh, staff, and anyone else who are going to be able to answer our questions regarding the committee items on the agenda. So we have about 3 or 4 items on the agenda and also a presentation from our Planning and Zoning Department, Planning and Zoning Division of the Department of Developmental Service. May I take an item out of order and possibly have a motion to postpone this item?
I make I make a motion to postpone agenda item 2.4.
Yes, ma'am.
second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and properly seconded to postpone item 2.4. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, all those in favor of postponing item 2.4, please say
Aye.
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 Okay, that item is now postponed until our next scheduled council meeting. So going back to the regular agenda, on the agenda is items 2.1, and that is a resolution from Mayor Arielampalam authorizing the city to transfer 2 city-owned properties to Southside's Institution Neighborhood Alliance, which is SINA, for the development of two-family homes. There will be a public hearing on September, or there was a public hearing on September 15th at 7 p.m. on those items. And also there will be a review, A24 review of those that proposed sale items. Who from the city administration is going to be speaking on item 2.1?
That'll be me, Council President.
Assistant Director Diaz, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Wonderful. And we have our Director of Development Services, Jeff Walker, has joined us. We also have I'm looking at everyone here, so please bear with me.
And
Sharon
Owen Deutsch is here.
uh, Deutsch is going to be here for a presentation at the end, and we have Ms. Cheeks, our Chief Zoning Administrator. Ah, we also have Councilman Rosado, who is a voting member on the committee, who are also here. So welcome, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. And Assistant Director Diaz, you have the floor so to talk to us about items 2.1 of the sale of those 2 properties.
Okay. Thank you, council members. So also joining us from is Amy Chambers. She is the Chief Real Estate Officer for SINA. So she's been in that role for several weeks now. So welcome her back to the city. These 2 properties we're transferring over to SINA. They're going to develop 2 family houses, approximately 2,600 square feet, with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and they are focusing on getting these into homeownership individuals that fall under the 120 AMI. So I know, Amy, if Amy can talk more about the program and her organizations and her new vision with Sina now that she's the new Chief Real Estate Officer.
Well, welcome back, past Director, Planning and Economic or Planning and Zoning Director. Welcome back. It's lovely to see you again, ma'am. And I'm so happy that you are back in the city and being actively involved in real estate development of the city. So tell us, as what does Sign Up Planning and doing with these two properties?
Thank you, and thank you, council members, for having me here this evening. As William mentioned, Amy Chambers, I am the new Chief Real Estate Officer for Sina. I started in this role in July. I'm excited to be before you tonight to request the transfer of the two properties. As you know, Sina has a long history of developing property for homeownership opportunities in the Frog Hollow, behind the rocks, and Berry Square areas. And we are excited to be able to continue that work. We are looking to have these two parcels transferred over to develop, as Assistant Director Diaz mentioned, two family homes for homeownership opportunities, and to provide an opportunity for those future homeowners to also have a source of income through a rental unit as well. This is very much in line with past rounds of development that we have done. And these two parcels would be added to a handful of parcels that we already have ownership over. We would be looking to develop approximately 10 parcels, therefore approximately 20 units of housing in our next round of development. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to talk a little bit more about, my role here. I'd really just like to turn the floor back over to you. And yeah, I'm here at your disposal.
A couple of questions. Is that the presentation?
Yeah.
Mr. Diaz? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I'll open the floor up for questions. Councilman Gale or any other members of the committee? Councilman Gale, please, sir.
Sure. Just to confirm, the resolution implies but does not state that the consideration is essentially $1. That we're transferring these properties over to Sina for no consideration, I take it, or the consideration being that they're going to develop them. Am I correct in that, Mr. Diaz?
That is correct, Councilman.
Second question/comment. Ms. Chambers, welcome back. Good to see you. Great to see you. And great to see you in this role. Interestingly, Trinity College, which is, I believe, a member of Sina, a sort of a founding member of Sina, has a brand new president. And I'm interested to know whether you have met the president, whether the president's aware of all of the great things that you and Sina are doing here for the neighborhood.
Thank you for the question, Councilman Gale. I have not personally met the president yet, but Logan Singerman, our executive director, has had a one-on-one meeting with the president, who has communicated through Logan his commitment to the importance of anchor institutions and their work and presence in neighborhoods such as this one. So that is a conversation that has taken place. I do anticipate we have a quarterly meeting with all of the CEOs of our anchor institutions, and I anticipate the opportunity to sit down and talk more about our work in depth at that point in time. But Logan has, raised to the new president the various types of work that Sina does, pointing out that we are wrapping up 199 and 205 Zion Street, which are two-family homes, also parcels that we acquired some time ago, that are right at the base of Summit Street and are opportunities as well for homeownership. Those will be going on the market shortly, and they are both just a beautiful kind of opportunity for residents of the neighborhood, but also a great gateway to the Trinity College campus. And Logan did mention that the president noticed the homes and noticed that the front doors are in Trinity College colors, and hopes to see more of that.
Well, that's great. And my last comment is that while we were looking at this, I managed to get a Google Map street view picture, and certainly very familiar with the area, as that's been a very well-worn route for me to the south end, just to go up Park Terrace and cut up Summit Street to Zion. So this property is got a lot of high visibility, and from the Google Street View, I could see that at least in that picture, there's a kind of a beaten up chain link fence where the property touches Summit, and a bunch of trash there. So to the extent that this is going to be redeveloped, it seems like this is a huge win for that neighborhood and for all of us who traverse the neighborhood and consider it a part of our neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Don't see anybody else. So let me ask you, you said you're just finishing up one of the corner of Zion and Summit. What are the sales price of these homes?
The ones that are being completed at this point in time, they're at the corner of Zion and Catherine. And these homes are, they're priced right now at, I believe they're priced at $360. They're two-family homes, so $360 each. And there is a price point cap that exists through the funding source that we are utilizing, but we're anticipating selling them around that price, provided that they appraise on that same level. And I can just add that we have seen other units that we have developed and sold recently appraise around that same price point.
Great. And you said it, I think William in his introduction said the sales ownership price is 120% of AMI. So therefore, that income level, which I don't know off the top of my head, should be able to afford, with the rental side of it, home ownership of those properties.
That's correct. And we are working, with several potential homeowners who are utilizing homebuyer assistance. As you know, the city has a homebuyer assistance program. There's homebuyer assistance programs available at the state level, CHFA, and through some of the lenders themselves. So we've seen a number of those come across our table and continue to work with those entities to close loans.
Right. You also mentioned in your opening conversation that there was about 10 parcels that you guys are planning on developing. What timeline these two parcels fall into place? In the next year, 2 years? What is the timeline and development of these two properties?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. We are working on lining up funding for the parcels now. I think, as many of you know, the state in particular looks for developers to be able to establish site control when it comes to the application of funding opportunities. That's part of the reason why we're moving to have the parcels transferred to us, but we are looking to be able to begin construction not on all of them at once, but on essentially another round of development late next spring. And we're anticipating running construction for approximately 1 year. So I anticipate in 2027 that we would have the second half of 2027 that we would have these units be brought online. One thing I will add is, we've had a lot of transition that's taken place at SINA over the course of the last year. Our CFO, Keith Hedman, who was there for a very long time, has retired. Melvin Clone has retired. Logan's the new executive director. Dean Iannero has retired, and I've taken his place and taken on the chief real estate officer role. one of the things that I'd really like to do in my time at SINA and really focus on as we move into the next several months is tightening up our construction timelines and moving construction faster. I think we have the capacity to bring more units online, and I'm very much looking forward to working with my colleagues at the city and others to be able to do that. And as well for us to be able to get creative with respect to both our funding sources and where we're sourcing property from as well.
No, good to hear that. And so these are city-owned properties. We certainly are my goal, and I think a lot of the mayor and a lot of the council goals is for home ownership, in the city, which is, great. Is there any way in working with the housing department as you line up financing? So whomever the potential home buyers are, they're in line to get, the opportunity to participate in the the homeowners down payers program. And in conjunction with that, there is also, the city also has another funding for staff, for the city of Hartford, who can also get additional grant. So I'm saying this to say, to ask you to also market, these homes as they're being developed, to these potential opportunities for the staff from the city of Hartford to buy a house and live and work in the city, and utilize the homeowners down payment assistance program.
Absolutely. Councilwoman, I think there are a lot of opportunities for us to expand our marketing to make sure that folks know, obviously there's a great legacy that SINA has already, but to, continue to be able to communicate the work that we're doing and find ways to move intentionally as we develop and while we have to kind of at the same time, make sure that we're maintaining our fair housing practices, in particular through the process, I want to make sure that we're being intentional with respect to the ways in which we get information out there. And, we look to the city as a partner, we look to our state partners, and we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all the resources that are available to assist people. So that's definitely front and center.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. And I'm really appreciate, that you gave us a timeline, in 2027 and seeing that, SINA not really holding on to properties, but also, developing them as soon as possible. So certainly appreciate that coming online, in the next year or so. That's it for my questions and comment. Any other from our esteemed committee members? Seeing or hearing none, I am open for motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councilman Gale.
Yeah. Let me just note for the record that at the public hearing that was had on this parcel, as well as the next two that will be considered tonight, there was no one who appeared to comment either favorably or against any of these proposals. Having said that, and having heard the presentation tonight, I would make a motion to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion has been made and properly second to send back to council a favorable recommendation for the sale of these two city-owned properties to SINA. Are there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, those in favor of sending back to the overall council a favorable recommendation, the sale of these two city-owned properties?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye has it. No abstention, no opposition. Great. Congratulations, Ms. Chambers. Welcome back home. And thank you very much, Assistant Director Diaz, on that presentation.
Thank you.
Council members.
Right. Thank you. Okay. I think I did, so we're sending, the vote was high, we're sending it back favorably. I think I did. Great. Second item on the agenda, it's a resolution from Mayor Aralampanam authorizing the City of Hartford transfer 4 city-owned property to Habitat for Humanity of North Central Connecticut for the development of 4 new owner-occupied residents. I assume, Mr. Diaz, that you are also going to do the presentation on this, and thank you, Councilman Gale, to remind us that there was a public hearing on September 15th, and no one came to speak in favor or not in favor of this item on the agenda. And there is also will be an A24 review from our Planning and Zoning Commission.
You are correct, Council President. So in this case, let me see if I can share my screen.
Yep, we're seeing it.
You can see it? Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, so this is a resolution to transfer 4 properties, 40 to Habitat. And I think I saw the Chief Operating Officer Chris McKelvey on the call. So I'm going to skip these next 2 slides and have him talk about his organization after when we introduce him. But yeah, so the properties are 501 Garden Street. It's 5,700 square feet. And I think the development for all 4 properties are pretty much the same. It's going to be a house, 1,400 square feet, 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, front porch, living area, driveway for parking for 2 vehicles. And the price for all these all the developments would be approximately $311,900. And going back to what Amy Chambers was saying, the timeline is pretty similar. They start in December, they'll be done in the fall of 2027. So the second property on the list is 610 Garden Street. The same, like I said, the development itself, although the lot is a little bit different, the house is the same dimension, same cost, same estimate. Same thing for 49 Acton Street and 158 Vice Street. Those are the 4 properties that we are proposing to transfer over. In regards to previous projects, they've completed projects like 85 Barber Street, 180 Westland Street, 104 Clark Street, 159 Capon Street, 90 Nelson Street. And these are similar in size with their model 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. And then I got some pictures of some of the houses they put together. You have the 84 Barber Street to your left, which is a duplex, 180 Westland Street. And this is a picture of 104 Clark Street, and then another similar house at 159 Capon Street. Chris McKelvey, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So are there any questions regarding the presentation or questions that we can ask in regards to Habitat's background and their programs and things of that nature that the council may have?
Hello? If you take your presentation, I don't know if I can see him, Mr. Diaz.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Here?
Yep,
Oh, okay, there you go, Chris. Please welcome.
Thank
you. You're here representing Habitat for Humanity?
Yes.
Okay. I'm familiar with the organization, but maybe you want to tell us a little bit about the organizations, the properties you have developed, in Hartford, so our residents who are listening would have an idea of what your organization has done.
Of course, I'm happy to. So I'm currently the CEO at Hartford Area Habitat for Humanity. Sorry, we changed our name to North Central Connecticut, and I keep forgetting that. But we've built over 200 homes throughout the city of Hartford. We're very excited for this opportunity to receive the transfer of 4 lots, hopefully from the city of Hartford. For those who might be familiar with the North End area that we are proposing these parcels to build in, we just finished 5 properties a year ago. We referred to it as the Hartford 5. Those parcels are very similar to these lots in terms of size and the proposed house style. As you saw in the photos that Will shared, they're pretty similar, basic colonial type homes, 4 bedrooms. One of the bedrooms is on the first floor with an accessible bathroom, 2 full baths. The Habitat homeowners, they are basically, as soon as we get confirmation that these properties will be transferred, we will start vetting for homeowners for these properties. They're required to put in 100 sweat equity hours, helping us build these homes alongside volunteers, as well as taking their financial literacy courses, attending the first-time homebuyer course offered by CHAFA, and participating in that down payment assistance program that CHAFA offers as well, to work towards ownership. These homes will be appraised at the completion of the project to determine sales price. The Hartford 5 property is appraised for around $225,000, and we were able to sell at that price. Most of the homeowners are between 40 to 80% AMI. The Hartford properties, because they received federal funding dollars through the home funds, we were able to extend some of that window to up to 120%. But we're not at this point anticipating having necessarily federal funds available for these properties. But we have obviously a 37-year history here in the city of Hartford, a lot of strong support from local corporations who are eager to invest in affordable housing here, especially in the North End of Hartford.
Questions, comments? Thank you, Chris. Let me just ask, since I haven't seen anybody raise their hands as yet. You've developed lots of property in the city. Have you gone back over the last decade or so, and are these homeowners still living in these properties? You know, for the longevity of it, which is really would be great to hear. You're shaking your head, yes.
Yes, we actually just on the 20th of September, we had a Habitat homeowner picnic at Keeney Park, where we invite all of the homeowner families from over the years to join us and celebrate. And it was very exciting to see the grandkids of homeowners who've been in their homes for 20, 30 years. We had a mortgage burning celebration for one of the homeowners who just finished paying off her mortgage. So yes, part of our program and the mortgage requirements give us the right of first refusal if a homeowner decides that they want to sell the property, that Habitat can take that property back, renovate it, and provide it to a new family. But that is typically very rare. I know that I believe it was about 5+ years ago when we did our 30th anniversary that Travelers helped assist us in doing a survey of all current homeowners to pull the statistics on how many of them still live in their home, and majority of them do, as well as them and their children have pursued higher education and secured jobs throughout the Hartford area if they didn't already have them. So there's some high rates of success for these homeowners that we're really excited about.
Wow, that's impressive. And I have to commend Mr. Diaz, Sina and Habitat, that you guys are helping us fulfill the mission of homeownership in the city. So it's really a welcome to hear those great things. So if someone wants to sell their property, so you do have the first right of refusal to take the property back.
Right.
So have that ever happened in the past before? And how does that work?
Yeah, occasionally it happens. Sometimes a homeowner's parent passes, or they want to move out of state. Maybe they got a new opportunity or job and reason that they want to leave the city of Hartford. So anytime that happens and a homeowner is going to put their home for sale, then we have the opportunity to step in and purchase that home back, typically for the value of the original mortgage. So the homeowner can regain the money that they spent paying down the mortgage, have those funds available to them, while we can take it back, revitalize the home, and then be able to resell it to a family for the same affordable mortgage price that the previous homeowner had as well.
Is that for the term of the loan, the entire term of the loan, or?
Correct. Yes, for the 30 years of the loan. Yes.
Okay. So at least the homeowner is building up some equity
Yes,
in the property.
absolutely.
You know, that's something it's very good, great to hear,
Yes.
you know, as generational wealth is, you know, passed on. So thank you very much for saying that. That's it for me. Any question, concerns, seeing no hands raised? Councilman Gale?
Move to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Great. The motion is made and properly second to send this item back for the sale of the four city-owned property to the overall council council committee favorably. Can't speak today. Are there any discussions? Any questions? Seeing or hearing no discussion, the item, how are those in favor of sending back favorable to the council?
Aye.
Thank you. And I also. So the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. McClevey. We will be sending on favorably to the council approval of, you know, the sale of the four property to Habitat for North Central Connecticut.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz, again for a good presentation. And did I ever congratulate you, Mr. Diaz? I'm loving this home ownership.
This is what I'm just following leadership's ideas. So,
well, thank you very much.
Yes.
You're doing a great job in following directions. This is great. We'll have 6 or 7 or 8 home ownership properties in the city. This is great. All right, so let's move on. Got another item on the agenda. This item's 2.3. Again, another accompanying resolution from Mayor Arilampalam authorizing the redevelopment of 110 Washington Street and utilized city-owned property currently as a warming center. Again, there was a public hearing on September 15, 2025. And Councilman Gale reminded us that no one came to speak in favor or against. And also there will be a 824 review from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I guess Assistant Director Diaz, you'll be speaking on this issue also?
You are correct, Council President.
Popular this evening.
So we're going to do this one differently. So I am being joined by Matt Rabania, the principal for Boston Communities, and Rich Relic, the principal of Arts Communities. So I'm going to have them start a presentation since I'm not sure if most of the council members have heard of their entities. So I want them to introduce themselves, talk about their entity, talk about the project, and then I can fill in the blanks with the financials tax and the proposed tax deal.
Okay, so who's going to go first?
So, Matthew, are you there?
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And there's
Great.
also a Rich.
I'm here as well. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Rich Relic.
Okay, gentlemen, you have the floor. Tell us about your company.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. And I do have some slides to share if I'm able to
Please go
share.
right ahead.
All right, thank you. As Assistant Director Diaz said, my name is Matt Robina. I'm a principal with Boston Communities and joined by Rich Relic, a principal with Arch Communities. And together we're proposing a redevelopment of the former trade school at 110 Washington Street. Just a little bit about who we are. So Boston Communities, we're a small minority-owned emerging developer based in the Boston area with a lot of experience working in the affordable housing space, mostly with tax credits through the experience of myself and my two partners. And Rich, do you want to give a little introduction?
Absolutely. Yeah. Rich Relic, Arch Communities. I've been in this business, as Matt mentioned, about 20 years or so. I focus on the adaptive reuse of mill buildings, of school buildings, primarily into mixed income housing as well.
And so Arch Communities and Boston Communities responded to the RFP to redevelopment this property back when it was issued in 2021 with a selection in 2022. And we've been working to come up with a development plan that really fits the building and also is supportable with available resources from the Department of Housing and CHFA. Just a little bit about some of the work that our companies or that we as principals have done in Connecticut and in some of these historic buildings. So this, on the screen, you see some of the projects we've worked on in the past. The first, Tyler in East Haven, that was the redevelopment of a former high school in East Haven into 70 senior affordable apartments. Enterprise Abbott in Waterbury, which was the renovation of two historic mill buildings in Waterbury to improve the apartments that were there. Recently completed all the way on the right, the Ellis Block in New Britain, Connecticut, that I actually had the pleasure of working on with the city's new Director of Economic Development, Jack Benjamin. This project was actually just completed a few months ago, and Director Benjamin was incredibly supportive of the project and wonderful to work with. And then, Rich, if you want to go through the ones at the bottom.
Yeah, sure. St. Anne's Apartments, that's in Woonsocket. That's adaptive use of a school building using the similar funding sources, federal and state historic tax credits and the housing tax credits to make that project work. And similarly, the Wells School in Southbridge finished up about 2 years ago. That's 62 units, all affordable for residents that are age 55 plus.
So overall, we have a deep knowledge of how to work in these historic buildings and secure the federal and state historic resources necessary to pair with affordable resources and get these projects completed. A little bit about the school building itself. This is what it looks like now. As you all know, it's been used as a warming center in the gymnasium for the past several years. So the building is generally in pretty good condition. It's still weather tight. Aside from the small fire which happened recently, it's been great, and it's got really good bones. And so what we're proposing is 57 new apartments, all rental, which would be a mix of studios, ones, and two-bedroom units. You see here we've got 6 studios, 37 one-bedroom units, and 14 two-bedroom units. This is partially driven because we've been having conversations with Hartford Hospital, which is close by, about potentially partnering to offer some of the units through a new Department of Housing program, specifically targeting hospital workforce. And so we know there's a strong demand for some of these one-bedroom unit types that could support hospital workers looking to live close by to the hospital. This is proposed to be 100% income restricted with a mix of units from 80% of area median income to 30% of area median income. We've got 19 units at 80%, 5 at 60%, 25 at 50%, and 8 at 30%. And the goal there is really to have a range of income levels to support a range of folks who are looking for housing in the area. This is just a general layout of what the site looks like. So to orient you, this is Washington Street on the left-hand side. The State House is just a block and a half north of here. The state police barracks are just north of the site. We're proposing to maintain the parking area on the back side of the property off of Cedar Street. We're actually proposing to make the parking area a little bit smaller in order to incorporate a new landscaped area and reduce the impervious surface of the site. We're proposing 43 parking spaces, which is about a 0.75 parking ratio. We're also proposing some long-term bike storage in an outbuilding that is just behind the building. And this is just an interior layout of what the building looks like, with the units being able to go into where the classrooms formerly were. As part of the historic process, we have to maintain the historic corridor sizes and the lockers that are in the corridors. So you'll still see remnants of what that school used to look like prior to it being apartments. And again, this is just a representative sample of what the floor plans would look like in the units. A little bit of what we've done. So we did get approval from the city planning department through site plan approval at the end of last year. We've also been working with the city's housing staff to secure some federal home funds and federal Section 8 for a number of the units. And we've also been working with Connecticut SHPO to get their approval on our redevelopment plans. So far, we've received approvals for parts 1 through 3, which is our redevelopment plan and a reservation of the state historic tax credits for the project. We've been working with Eversource to secure some energy rebates for some of the energy efficiency measures that we're going to be implementing here, including ERVs and high efficiency heaters and high efficiency heat pumps and water heaters. And we've just completed a SEPA scoping process with the Department of Housing, which is one of the necessary environmental reviews we need to complete as part of the state funding process. So our goal moving forward is we held some community meetings with the SOTO NRZ back over the summer, and they've been supportive of the project. We're working through the disposition process now, of course, with the city council and hoping for a favorable result. And if so, we'd be working with CHAFA and DOH to secure all the state financing we need in order to redevelop the property. We'd also be looking to submit a building permit later on this year, going into the new year, and go into construction in the spring. We know that the city wants to reuse the building as the warming center once again this year, which we are totally in support of, and are planning our construction period around that reuse of the warming center for this warming season. And then if all goes well, we would be completing the construction and letting people move in towards the end of 2027. So with that, let me turn it back over to Assistant Director Diaz.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and then just to add on to the presentation, we are selling the building over to the development team for $500,000. I know the project's estimated around 33.6 million. They're taking out a loan that, like you mentioned, they're pursuing Department of Housing funding. They got historic tax credit, the deferred developer fee. The city is going to commit some of the home funds to it. They're pursuing Section 8 vouchers, and they're also going to comply with the city's NWBE requirements, wage requirements. This is 100% affordable deal. So we're asking for a 15-year tax hit where we keep the 2 years for construction at 0% or flat because the city's not collecting any tax revenue at accordingly, and then 9% between years 1 and 5 for based off of revenue, which is reflected on the term sheet. And then we're also giving them a 18-month due diligence period to before closing on the project, but I'm assuming that this is going to be closed way before then.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz, and thank you so very much. I believe I'm gonna put on glasses to read. Matthew and Rick. So I see some 2 hands raised. I will go with Majority Leader Rossetti.
Councilman Mitchum had his hand up before me. Doesn't matter. Okay. First of all, I thank you for your presentation. A couple of things. As someone who had a brother who lived in redone school in New Britain, senior housing, such an excellent way to reuse buildings that were made, to last. And when the integrity of them is kept, as it seems, it went by pretty quick, as it seems with hallways and doors, I think that adds to the viability of the building. I'm also glad to hear the city is going to do 1 more year with the warming center. My concern, and again, I don't understand why it falls on the city when we house people from the greater Hartford area, and we should be proud that we do that, but I think we should immediately be having discussions with DDS and the mayor's office on what we're going to do past this winter, and we should start it now. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchum.
Actually, also very similar. Thank you for the presentation. And I guess my question is for Mr. Diaz, is there a plan for maintaining our warming center capacity once this project goes forward?
Yeah, Councilman, the mayor's office, chief of staff, COO, Public Works, Health Department, they all have been working on identifying other facilities that can accommodate the city's needs for a warming center. So it's been the last few, especially after the fire at 110 Washington, it's been all hands on deck trying to find a place that can accommodate not only what 110 was serving, but more than that, because even 110 was not enough to serve the community that needed the warming center. So they're actively searching as we speak. Yes.
And I know this is not exactly your bailiwick, so if you don't know the answer.
Yeah. So yeah, but I've been involved in some of the builds, so I know that.
So my question is, how close are we confident that we're going to identify somewhere else that's going to do the job, or various places?
Again,
like I said,
I'm not answering that, but I'm sure we have to find a place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then I will definitely, those are my definite questions, Councilman Mitchum, regarding making sure we do have another location. Yes, for the winter of 2025, but I certainly would like to see some definite plans. So Director Walker, you're here, and so we really want to make it be known to the administration that we really would like to see a definite plan for the winter of 26, going forward. I think that the two entities who are love the concept of reusing space. These buildings were built tons of years ago and their bones are fabulous. And so I totally agree with Councilwoman Majority Leader Rossetti, bringing back these buildings, making them, use again. I truly 100% support that. I'm saying this to also say that, if we vote on this favorably going forward, what's assurance do we have from the administration to make sure that we have, a warning center, even though Hartford is taking a lot of the responsibility for the Hartford region going forward for 26, 27, and, and later years.
So is that a question to me, Shirley, on?
Well, sort of kind of comment question, getting back to the administration, because I think you have heard so far from three of us, probably four, our concern.
Yeah, so here's what I can tell you. We 100% agree with you. The comfort level around simply having another one season solution to this is not great on our end. We want something that we know is going to be there and frankly can provide more beds, to meet the actual need, moving forward. How to assure that? Let's talk. Because I want to give you more than just, our promise, but it is, we do need to set up a process. We need to start vetting the properties much earlier because some of these that we looked at, we didn't know that we had to get them off the steam boiler loop. Once you get into them, some hair pops up. So we need to start that process earlier and look to a longer term solution, and how we can get on the same page and make sure that you feel comfortable that we're moving in that direction with the proper milestones and gate checks and oversight. Totally good with that.
I thank you for saying that, but I will also say that, quarterly, monthly update on where the administration has accomplished this is important, because I think, the members around the table really, really want to make sure that we have some warm incentive provided. So, Council Majority Leader Rossetti.
Yeah, and that too, belabor this, but as you know, with my other hat, I sit in other meetings, and unfortunately, misinformation comes out and or no information, and then there's anxiousness on the part of providers. So I think even a statement that what you've just said, the city is committed, long-term structure, which is difficult, I know, but in partnership with the people who provide the services, where it actually should be on a bus line, different things that make it easier for the people who are actually providing the services. Because as we know, the warming shelter serves some harder to serve clients at times. So,
Yeah.
this is an important aspect. So maybe we don't have to go into it so far deep, and thank you, Council President, but maybe for a while there is kind of a separate entity that looks at this as we, go through this final season on Washington Street.
I agree. I'll be completely open to that. And if there's anybody that we can speak to one, express our priority on this, but also get the feedback on what makes sense. Because if we do have to do something like look at zoning and variances and, everything from DOT, if there's going to be some, a bus change or something like that, those are what make these things work, make them sustainable over time. And those are things that we should have started on much earlier. But we had a little bit of bad luck. I'm not going to make excuses. We didn't intend to be in this situation. And I can tell you there is a high priority on figuring this out for this winter right now. But I don't want to do this again. Let's solve the problem.
So I'm not going to belabor this, but so Councilman Majority Leader said sending something out. That's number one, to the different organizations, so they're aware of it. As she said, information travels differently sometimes. And then keeping us updated, regarding your search for a new location would be appreciative. Okay.
Sure.
And Director, I'd be happy to help with that coordination. So.
Yep. And we can do something, we can start as simply as let's put a standing item on the PEDH each month. And just as a status update, we're totally up for that.
Thank you.
So we do have on the meeting, Naisha McCauley, who is the assistant to the committee. If she could put a standing update presentation on the PDNH notice going forward, would appreciate it. Okay. Got a finger raised. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. McCauley. So do I have, I'm open to a motion.
Well, I have a couple of questions, Madam Chair.
Councilman Gale, you see, you were quiet the last time, so I didn't know if you wanted us to ask any questions this time. But please.
It's a different item.
Okay.
And before I do, I know Councilman Michtam put his hand up again, and I'm moving on to a whole different subject. So if he wants to comment on the warming center, I would let him speak before me. I would like to move on to some other questions.
Councilman Mitchell.
Well, I was actually going to move that we postpone this in light of this question. So I'll hold that because we should have our full discussion and then we can have motions.
Okay, go ahead, sir. All right.
All right. So if I may, first question, with respect to the home funds, Mr. Diaz, can you tell us exactly how much dollar amount is being committed to this project from our home funds?
Councilman, I believe the figure that was set aside was 750,000 home dollars.
And to the developers here, can I assume that both of you are for-profit entities?
We are, yes.
Correct.
And with respect to any of the prior projects that you've done, I know there was a number of them that were shown on the screen. Have there been any sales by you of any projects that you've completed at this point in time?
Boston Communities does affordable home ownership projects where we do sell condos. That's mostly in the Boston area, but none of the projects that we've noted on this presentation.
So there's not any anticipation that this project, after it's completed, would be sold or spun off to another entity down the road?
No, and as part of the low-income housing tax credit process, the investors look for sponsors who are going to be with the project long-term. So there's no intention to walk away from this project once it's complete.
So with respect to the mixed income, I'm and I probably should know some of these answers, but I apologize for not. What happens if I come along and I'm at 100% of AMI? Am I prohibited from renting any units in this facility? Is that the idea?
Yeah, unfortunately, with the regulations of the low-income housing tax credit program, you do have to income qualify. So if you were over income, over 80% AMI, you would not be able to lease one of the units in the building.
And so what happens if I get a job? I'm at 80%. I get the unit, and then I get a raise. Is there an annual certification process? Do I end up?
Yeah, there is an annual recertification process. You don't have to move out if you go above 80%. There is a threshold, I believe it's 140% AMI, that if you exceed that, then the unit is no longer in compliance. But there is some leeway to allow people, once they're there, to be able to remain in their units. Um, what we would have to do on our end is, let's say someone moves into a 50% AMI unit and then they become a 80% AMI household. We'd have to redesignate their unit as an 80% unit, and then our next lease would have to go to a 50% AMI household or below.
I see. Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you for that, Madam Chair. I have no other questions.
Thank you. As you started your question, something else ran through my mind, and that's one of the things is the developer is supposed to work with Hartford Hospital to try to maybe get some of their staff into some of the rental units. How will that work if their income, again through Councilman Gale, question following up on that? So
Yeah.
you for X amount of income, from the staffing at Hartford Hospital.
That's an excellent question, Council President, and we've been trying to work through that with the Department of Housing as they're putting forward regs for their hospital worker program. What we've heard from Hartford Hospital is that they do have a number of workers that would qualify for these, called the 80% units, which are really billed as workforce units. And those are folks who might be executive assistants, people in support roles, phlebotomists, more entry-level positions. So it's for folks who are, it's not going to be for the doctors per se or nurse practitioners, but there are workers at the hospital who do fall within those income brackets who this would be marketed towards.
And also, one of the things, as Councilman Gale started this question, also jogged my memory. I don't see in the term sheet, Mr. Diaz, if the change of ownership, happens within X period of time, how does the city address that?
Typically, if the property is sold, the tax deal doesn't transfer over. So they would have to come back to the city. We would have that control from that aspect.
And what about, one of the partnership that can change?
The partnership and ownership?
Yes, because
in our contracts, most of the times we do have language that with the city approval, they can change the partnership.
With the city approval.
Yes.
So
we're going through one right now where someone is selling up the partnership, and they came to the city asking us to authorize the change, but there's no change to the program or the project, so we're authorizing it.
And so how does council maintain information with the proposal? Because we're approving, okay, the sale to these two partnerships. If going forward, and again, I don't know, that's why I'm asking these questions, should any, and I understand the concept, if the property is sold, all the tax credit have to be redone all over again. But change of partnership, how does that affect coming back to council, or I guess I'm trying to ask, are we notified of the approval? Because we're approving this sale to these two entities.
Okay. When we've done it in the past, it hasn't been a new partner or actual transfers. Like maybe the majority partner stays in and they switch interest in the transaction, but in the ownership structure, but it's not a complete new entity. Because like I'm saying, like once you change entities, then your tax deal is no longer in place because so that's what controls the transaction. We would have to go back to council. If that makes sense.
So let me repeat what I think I'm hearing. So if there's a change in partnership, what would happen is it will certainly affect the tax credit agreement, and you would have to come back to council again for reapproval with the new
For
entity.
reapproval of a tax fixing agreement.
With the
If
approval.
not, they can sell and they'll just have to pay full taxes.
Okay.
They lose that advantage.
Okay.
But there is no language saying that they can't sell. If that's what you're asking for.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing, and again, correct me if I'm misunderstanding. If this entity, these two entities, if they sell the property within whatever period of time there is, they would have to get reapproval for any tax agreement that has
Yeah, so if they decide to sell in 5 years, we're giving them a 15-year tax.
right.
If they decide to sell in 5 years, the new entity will not have access to the tax deal. They will have to pay full taxes. Unless they come back, it just doesn't transfer. Unless they come back to the city and request a new tax deal, which would have to go through city council again.
Right. Okay. All right. I think I'm understanding this, which makes sense to make sure at least, we recoup our funds, of the investment in the city. Plus, I think you also state regarding the home funds of 750,000, would any of that have to be sent back to the city, or that's covered if and should they sell the property within the 15 years or so? Do we recoup those home funds monies?
I'm not 100% sure what deed restrictions are tied to home funds. That I can get back to you. I would have to check with the home housing division on that.
And I can shed some light on that. And the home funds do come into the project as a loan. And so there are reporting requirements as every year. Now there's no repayment of the home funds until the loan matures, which is 40 years to run with all the affordability restrictions. I should add that also, CHFA and DOH will also have regulatory oversight during that 40-year period to make sure that we're continuing to maintain and operate the property the way we said we were going to. They would have to approve any transfers of our membership interest to a new controlling entity. And there is, mechanisms, if the property is no longer compliant with the affordability that we're promising, for those loans to become due. So there are various oversight mechanisms that with both the home funds and with the state oversight that, could be exercised.
Thank you for letting us know, because we have, I would say, in the past approved, within X period of time, entities has changed, and, we got caught and never been notified of it. So thank you for explaining that to us, making me feel a little bit more comfortable with the state and the city oversight. That's it for me for questions. Councilman Gale, anyone else? Mitchum, Majority Leader?
I do have a comment actually.
Please go ahead, sir.
So I just, if this is ultimately approved.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
Recording has stopped. I wonder why.
You're a powerful guy there, Josh.
Yeah, no, they don't, no one wants any record of
All
this.
right, I'm taping it. I'm going to tape it on my phone here.
If this is ultimately approved, responding to the comment about getting folks from the hospital to apply for these, SINA, whom we heard from earlier on a different matter, has a whole walk to work program, which is meant to connect local residents in this very area with local businesses for employment. So, and they also are they're developing a whole Washington Street corridor plan. So if this all goes forward, y'all should, talk and make it happen. And then if there's no other comments, I would actually move to postpone in light of, in the hope of getting a more concrete plan from the city around a replacement warming center. Just move to postpone this to the next meeting of this committee.
Okay. Any other comments regarding postponing the item? I'm not quite sure.
Council President, in all due respect, Councilman Mitchell, I don't really think they're important, but I don't really think they're tied together. I think by postponing this, I think we need to absolutely, as someone who does it every day, have a priority on what the warming center is, but I don't think postponing it actually does what you're insinuating, not in a bad way, by postponing it.
If I could respond,
Yes,
Madam Chair, point of order. If he doesn't get a second to his postponement, we shouldn't be discussing it.
because the motion to postpone has
Well,
been
she
made,
did say comments, but sorry, go ahead.
it's not been properly seconded. So, Councilman Mitchum, you're doing a motion to postpone?
I have made a motion to postpone.
Okay. Is there a second for the motion to be postponed? Seeing that there is no second for the motion to be postponed, Councilman Mitchum, the motion doesn't go anywhere.
Can I make
Go ahead.
Pretend we're back in comments so I can make just a statement in defense of the motion to postpone to see if I persuade one of my colleagues. And if not, obviously it does.
We're sitting comments before any motion is on the floor.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll be quick, only to say this, that from my perspective, my support of this plan, which I think is a good thing that we should support, is contingent on knowing that the city has a replacement warming center. That's why I think the motion to postpone is valuable, because if we don't have a replacement warming center, I don't think this should go forward. Okay. That's all.
So can I make a comment? My comment would be, for winter 25, we're okay. The city has a year to get another warming center location up and going for 26. Construction will not begin pursuant to the presentation until 27. So could we say, Councilman Mitchum, that, we could favorably approve this under the auspices that the city proposed by 2026 before, have a site ready to go. So one of the things I'm trying to do is not hold up the developer, because they need to go to the state to finish their borrowing and loan, and, having site approval or the property approval makes a difference. I'm trying to accommodate the idea, if somebody can help me kind of flush this out, favorably approving it under the idea that by the fiscal year ending of 26, if the city has not come up with a warning center, then this approval is null and void. Does that make any sense?
I think that's a difficult motion, Madam Chair, to make, because on the one hand, you're telling them to move forward, but on the other hand, you're saying, because you might not get that approval until next October, you might not know. So I think as the majority leader said, these are probably two separate ideas that shouldn't be paired together. City's got a long history of coming to the table. We certainly have empty city buildings, as we sit here tonight, that could be put into reuse. And we're planning on getting reports from development services on a monthly basis now as to what's going on. And I really feel these things should probably just go their separate. Clearly, we're going to stay in touch with the issue, as you've pointed out, and as development services has promised. But I don't think it's appropriate to try to tie these folks moving forward with something that they can't control. That may, who would loan them money if it could still be somehow derailed down the line. So I would like to make a motion at this point that we've sent it back favorably to council, and we'll take up these other issues as we can.
Do we have that? Who seconded?
I did.
Sorry, Majority Leader Rossetti, I didn't see you on the screen any further. Okay, so motion has been made and properly second to send back to council favorable recommendation for the sale of the property in 110 Washington Street. Now, are there any additional discussion? Seeing or hearing no other discussion, those in favor of favorably sent by the council?
Aye.
Aye, aye, okay. Are there any abstention? Any opposition?
No.
You know, okay. So 1 no, 3 yeses. Okay, so the motion passed to send back favorably to the council approving the sale of 110 Washington Street. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us. I do have to agree with Majority Leader Rossetti. It's great for reuse of properties and keeping the integrity of the property. So thank you so very much for putting that and getting that property back on the tax roll for the city of Hartford.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have postponed items 3.4. And so the last one in the agenda is a presentation by Development Services, Planning and Zoning Commission Division. Mr. Alker, would you like to start us off and continue with your division director and staff that's here?
I would. In fact, I'll just hand it right over to Director Deutsch here to pick this one up.
Good evening, Director. Where are you? Okay,
He's off on the side. I had the same one.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see him.
There he is.
There you are, Director Deutsch. And you also have your Chief Zoning Administrator with you. Is that Ms. Cheeks? Is that correct,
Yes.
sir?
Correct.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Before you start, Councilman Gale had sent some proposed talking points and questions. So as you go through your presentation, if you could answer some of those questions he had proposed, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I think all of his points will be covered, but please let me know if there's anything that I miss or any additional questions that come up.
Thank you.
So I'll be sharing my screen.
Thank you, sir.
And as mentioned, I am here with Sharon Cheeks, the Chief Zoning Administrator responsible for the oversight of our zoning enforcement section. So wanted to thank the committee for this opportunity to talk a little bit about what our division does. This presentation is roughly organized as follows. Talk a little bit about our mission and core functions, and then the remainder is divided along the lines of our core functions: comprehensive planning, plan review, and zoning enforcement. Our guiding document is the Hartford City Plan, the POCD, as well as other plans adopted by City Council, such as the Bicycle Master Plan, Complete Streets Plan, and others. Our goals as a division, I would say, are to be responsive to the public, as effective as possible in promoting city goals, transparent in our operations as well as collaborative internally and externally. And we have a number of long-term initiatives in addition to our core functions, delivering on some of the projects and programs that we've been entrusted with, continuing to improve customer service, maintaining our relationships with other divisions and departments, generally promoting health and safety, and upholding the POCD, as well as starting to look at updating the POCD, which is still several years in advance, but not too early to start thinking about. And so our organization is, as shown, we have 13 staff currently. There are 4 vacant positions, but we recently finished interviews for 3 of those and are hoping to fill those positions shortly. Not shown is the assistance we get from Tyche consultants who provide assistance with site plan reviews, which are one of the more complex aspects of plan review, as well as some of our reports to commissions. Their scope also includes a comprehensive update of the zoning code to make sure that it's compliant with state law and planning best practices, and generally provide expert opinions based in their experience with a number of towns throughout the state. So getting into comprehensive planning and transportation planning, there's a lot that we have underway, and I'll also note our awesome bike pedestrian coordinator, Grace Yee, did leave the city about 2 months ago, and so that was a big loss, but we are looking to fill that position as much as we can, and these projects are continuing in the meantime. So I won't get too much into depth, but please feel free to ask any questions that come to mind. Just for some updates on some of the major projects first, the Farmington Avenue streetscape, as you're probably aware, is under construction and is expected to be completed in early 2026. The Main Street streetscape project, we're projecting a construction start of 2027 and are working with the Federal Highway Administration on various tasks in advance of that construction beginning. We've completed design or nearly completed it on the first phase of the Reimagine Main Street project, which is the southern portion of Main Street closer to Charter Oak. We are working with DOT on the reconfiguration of the Albany Main intersection. Some concepts shared with the public recently, and that design will be continuing with the projected start date of 2028. Likewise for Pulaski Circle, that's a little farther behind, and concepts will start being rolled out to the public shortly, and then a construction date isn't projected until 2028. There are 2 roundabouts planned for New Britain Avenue, and then road diets for Asylum Avenue in 2026, as well as New Britain Avenue farther down the line, and that received grant funding for that, as well as some related sidewalk improvements. On the side of trails, we have the South Branch Park River Trail. The design has been completed. We're in the process of obtaining easements together with the Housing Authority and DEP coming to a mutual agreement. Riverwalk North, the design has been completed. For the record, that's the trail that would extend from the boathouse to the Windsor Town line. That's going through environmental permitting. Similar trail extending from downtown to Weathersfield, recently completed a study into where some of those best alignment would be. We have grant funding to look at improvements to the trails within Keeney Park. You'll start seeing some engagement events for that shortly. And we just closed a solicitation for a citywide study of trails, how they can be used to best connect the various trail projects underway in our parks and make sure that all of those are accessible to residents as much as possible. The Riverlink project, the city received $1.5 million in ARPA funding to advance that. Solicitation was recently agreed on with our project partner IQUIL, and that will be issued, I expect, in October. And the Albany Avenue side path, roughly between Bloomfield Avenue and Blue Hills Avenue is completing that design. Traffic calming is obviously a major concern for the city. The image at the right shows just the quantity of fatalities and serious accidents, crashes that have occurred, which are disproportionate and obviously excessive and tragic. The list of projects is partial summary of what is being done to address this, but there are a number of others that don't make the list. So to go through these as quickly as I can, Hampton Street, there have been pilot installations which we received grant funding for, federal grant funding to make permanent, and are working with the federal government on that. Hillside Avenue, a number of traffic calming measures which staff collaborated on with the schools will be going in 2026. Blue Hills Avenue is a comprehensive treatment of the neighborhood. A number of key corridors, Granby, Lime, Cornwall, Palm, Coventry, and Tower. The idea behind that is to address speeding holistically. So if you slow it on one street, people don't just speed on another street. That construction is expected in 2026. A similar approach will be started for the west end. The design of that is to begin in 2026. We tried an intersection at the intersection of Asylum, Farmington, and Broad, which is one of the worst intersections in the city as far as crashes. Design is nearing completion, and we've been working with the Public Works Department on getting that into construction. Likewise, for the intersection of Garden, Greenfield, and Mall, Pavilion, and FD Oates, those three, and as well as Vine Street, and a number of other discrete projects that would be a much longer list, which are in response to complaints or crashes or other things that elevate certain areas or intersections of importance. And then just to close out the list, a number of other things under the transportation planning umbrella. The city is applying for a bicycle-friendly community designation, which was previously received, and we are working to renew. A grant was received from the federal government, which has been placed on hold, but would fund a number of activities as shown, some additional traffic calming on Tower Avenue, a citywide traffic calming study, a sidewalk study, and then some work on traffic enforcement, which I'll speak to shortly. We have a study to look at the equitable distribution of scooters, a study into the city's school zone, working on a shared parking agreement with the Hartford Parking Authority. We also work on, walk audits with certain project partners, and including advocacy to legacy. And as mentioned, work with the Department of Transportation. We receive regular updates and provide feedback on the highway realignment and their program to enhance bus stops throughout the city, which will most immediately be going in on Wills Avenue. And then just a very brief note on the budgets for transportation planning of about $700,000 that was authorized over the past 3 fiscal years. About $75,000 is remaining. So that's just to illustrate that this funding is being expended and put to use in accordance with its authorization. We do also have the Complete Streets Fund, which is finite, and so is not drawn upon as often, but there is a balance in there, which we also have a budget for spending down, which was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission this year. Area plans are what our neighborhood plans would fall under. So that includes 5 neighborhoods that these plans were completed for, as well as 2 neighborhoods in progress, Parkville and South Downtown. These are more or less neighborhood level versions of the POCD. and are intended to gather feedback in advance of the POCD update, and also to develop recommendations and implementation items at a neighborhood level and a level of detail which is more fine-grained than the POCD might provide. The Arrowhead Area Plan was completed a few years ago, but we had a check-in meeting with the community just this past Monday, which was very well attended and had great conversations, and development, which was recommended as part of that plan, is underway, including the redevelopment of the Arrowhead and Flatiron buildings and the Anicello pedestrian plaza between both of those buildings, which we are looking forward to becoming a new high quality public space. The Homestead Avenue redevelopment plan was recently completed, and we are now looking at some of the next steps for that plan, including remediation options for some of the most marketable sites, some public realm improvements, and a number of the other recommendations that were made to us as part of that engagement. And then finally, we are working with the University of Massachusetts just on some concepts for the development of the Danny Corp property, which is a brownfield and contaminated. So we're just looking at some concepts for now, but hopefully that inspires future action.
Where's the Danny Corp?
A note on some of the programs that fall under the purview of the planning division. Scooters, we have a new provider, as you have seen, Vail is the name. They are new as of September 2024, but we've already seen almost 280,000 trips, about 700 per day on those scooters. There are about 800 currently, and that level is subject to approval by staff. Staff have also begun conversations with Vail about extending their contract to include e-bikes, but we want to make sure that's done in a deliberate and safe way. And automated traffic enforcement safety devices, also known as ATESDs, or speed cameras or red light cameras. Staff made a presentation to the Quality of Life Public Safety Committee in June, after which the contract with the vendor, Novoa, was able to be executed in July. Novoa is currently preparing the location plan and sent a draft to the city. There's just some final data gathering that needs to be done in coordination with Public Works Department. Also, we need to make sure that our school zones are in compliance with state law before speed cameras can be installed in those areas. And so we have another consultant team working on that, and they expect that work to be completed this month. Following that, the plan will be submitted to council for approval. And then the Department of Transportation, an awareness campaign will also need to be held before any cameras can be installed. There's a number of other related tasks that are occurring in parallel, setting up the citation hearing procedures with Corporation Counsel and HPD, as well as some of the officer training, setting up the system for licenses to be looked up, working with Eversource and Frontier on approvals for cameras to be installed on their poles, if possible, as well as setting up the necessary accounts for the receipt of revenue. And following the installation of speed cameras in school zones, assuming that is a successful rollout, we would look for a broader distribution of those throughout the city, as well as adding red light cameras to the inventory. A note on the community engagement that we strive to do. We have liaisons to each of the NRZs, staff members that attend each of those monthly meetings. We've been placing a lot more attention on our social media presence. We currently have 6 active accounts that we have multiple staff place updates on and monitor to try to have more of an ongoing dynamic correspondence with residents. We have newsletters that go out on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. mailers for major projects, as well as public meetings and surveys that occur as part of those projects, in addition to staff generally just trying to be part of the community and participate in events, which are always encouraged. On the plan review side, we have planners dedicated to the review and approval of the volume of applications which we receive every year, which is significant. About 1,500 applications were received in the past 12 months. About 1,200 of those were approved or otherwise closed. Only about 40 are denied. Normally, we work with applicants to avoid applications being denied whenever possible. 50 were withdrawn, and 150 of those are active, and out of those, over 100 are or were submitted in the past 30 days. And so I know, Councilman Gale, you had asked for the timelines of approval for various applications. Those are a pretty wide range depending on the application, and there are a number of factors that should be explained as part of the context for each. I can follow up with more of a detailed breakdown of that. But this is just to illustrate that looking especially at that 150 number, pretty much all of the active permits are from the past 30 days. So there is no real backlog to speak of, except for certain permits which take longer than that due to applicants either becoming non-responsive or additional information being needed, or a variety of other reasons. We also have received 15,000 more or less emails to the One Plan email account over the past year, 63 special permit applications that were processed by the Planning and Zoning Commission, 9 text amendments, which I'll speak to more in the next slide, 13 variances, 12 lot line adjustments, 335 historic applications, of which about 74 went to the commission level, the Historic Preservation Commission. And then obviously we have our bones and staff at the counter responding to walk-ins and appointments. Staff also provide support to the commissions below by statute, the Planning and Zoning Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as several other boards and commissions voluntarily providing support in various capacities. So as mentioned, this is the breakdown requested of the text amendments submitted to us over the past 3 fiscal years. The applications with asterisk are staff initiated, although it can be difficult to draw a line. Typically, we work with applicants to make sure that if they are submitting a text amendment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, that it would be acceptable. So there isn't always a firm distinction between which are staff initiated and which are applicant initiated, but staff facilitated. The vast majority are approved, and a number of these are in response to concerns being raised to our attention, or staff noticing that certain regulations may not be operating as intended or having unintended consequences. And so bringing these amendments to the commission to continue improving our zoning code as a living document and make sure that it represents the goals of the city. There are 2 text amendments that are currently active before the commission. One of them is to facilitate the installation of mechanical equipment, and the other is to make sure that we are in compliance with the Federal Fair Housing Act with respect to the locations of rooming houses, shelters, and group homes. As mentioned, the text amendments are one way we try to improve our customer service on a regular basis. We are also looking at upgrading our application intake platform, Acela, rolling out a new front-end platform under development now that will ideally guide applicants better to the type of applications that they need to submit and what the requirements are. Looking at eventually overhauling or at least making significant revisions to the website, continuing to document our standard operating procedures, which Ms. Cheeks has actually taken the lead on for the zoning enforcement section. And I would like to, at some point, have those be placed in a public place where residents can see what those procedures are themselves. The Historic Preservation Commission, which we provide support to, we have a contract pending with the Hartford Preservation Alliance, which will include in its scope updating those guidelines, the bylaws for the commission, looking at some of the application review procedures, developing educational materials for applicants and residents to be aware of what the requirements around historic preservation are. And eventually, I would also like to look at updating the ordinance itself and bringing that to council. There are some definite changes to that language that we've identified, and we think the council would agree to the point that you raised, Councilman Gale, in your email. We're looking at some revisions to the fee ordinance to make sure that our fees are fair and structured in a way that the right applications are being incentivized. We have a constant presence of staff at the front counter now. So whenever someone walks in, they're greeted either by a member of the L&I staff or the planning staff, and it's always known who that staff will be. We have placed more staff on the phone lines, and we'll be revising the tree that directs callers when they call in to make sure they're reaching the right person. We are looking at streamlining some of our applications, either by text amendment or just administratively. Some of those examples are if there is an application just to change the owner of a business or other use, but other details are staying the same. Also looking at streamlining the process for approving temporary events, historic reviews as mentioned, and the approvals of mechanical equipment. Staff have discussed conducting a tour of sorts of the various NRZs with materials to distribute to the NRZs and residents about the requirements of the Planning and Zoning Commission, what the zoning code is, what types of applications need to be submitted for various activities, because we know a lot of the time there's no bad intent. It's just that people may not be aware of some of what those requirements are. We are in the process of digitizing many of our records, making sure that they're accessible online, the text amendments as mentioned. And then finally, there's a few dashboards that we'll be rolling out that have been under development. The previous slide showed a dashboard for all of the active planning permits, the status and location, as well as maps of all the transportation projects underway and the various area plans that have been developed over the years. And so now I'll kick it over to Ms. Cheeks to speak more on the zoning enforcement side, and then I'll be available for any following questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Cheeks. I'm the Chief Zoning Administrator. I've had the pleasure of meeting Madam Chair Surgeon, and now I get to put a face to the name, Councilman John Gale. Nice to see you, sir. Zoning enforcement, we have a lot going on with us, and we do a great deal of work here. Our mission really is to assist the citizens of the city with zoning compliance. Sometimes it may seem a little harsh, but it's it's the plan of the city that we're trying to follow, the regulations of the city that we're trying to follow. Right now, we are currently staffed with me as the chief zoning administrator and 2 permanent zoning enforcement officers and 2 ARPA grant funded positions. One of the positions is not filled currently. We just interviewed for that position, so we're hoping that we can entice someone to take that position. So currently we have 3 zoning enforcement officers on the road and me as the chief zoning administrator who does the administration for our team. And I have also a caseload of my own. I carry 45 cases, so I'm a little busy as the supervisor as well. We did have a grant for $500,000 for the 2 ARPA funded positions at the end next year. We hired 1 zoning enforcement officer in February. He's still here. We hired 1 in June, who unfortunately, or fortunately, as you would want to put it, left within about 6 weeks. He got an offer with the state. I'm not going to have a problem with that. It is what it is. So that position is vacant right now. And like I said, we just interviewed for that position, and we're hoping that the person that we interviewed will take that position on. What we're looking to do, and I'm going to ask or make the plea for the 2 ARPA funded eventually to become permanent. Zoning enforcement is a huge part of the city. At one point, there were just 2 of us doing zoning enforcement, and we're looking at 302 cases at the time between 2 people. With a complement of at least 4, we can divide the city equally to do more enforcement, be more proactive instead of just reactive, be more in the city and interacting with our clients in our city, maybe the residents of the city, so that they know who we are, know what we do, understand what we do, ask questions of us, ask for help when necessary. The caseload would be more balanced with 4 permanent. We're seeing that it's a little bit more balanced now with 4 permanent. My hope is to have no more than 50 per zoning enforcement officer, which would allow us to be a little bit more proactive instead of buried all the time, and to be able to take on more projects. We have projects on top of going out and into the city and doing enforcement in the city. We have a couple things that we have on our plate right now that we are not so much struggling to conduct, but the extra bodies would help us be able to handle our enforcement along with the projects that come along. Next slide, please. Currently, right now, we have 192 cases open. This is the caseload for the past 12 months is about 383. 37 of those were staff initiated. We had about 912 inspections in the last 12 months. Most of the common violations that we come across are automotive repair on residential properties, front yard parking, which is a huge problem in the city, mostly between spring and up until the first snows, but it can be a big issue in the city. Working without permits, things such as roofs, porches, etc., and especially if they're historic properties, cars parked on vacant lots that are vacant lots for a reason and should not be used as parking lots. Illegal dwelling units and rooming houses, that's generally the cases that I handle on my caseload. Unpermitted paving, which causes adjacent flooding to other properties. Excessive signage, lighting and noise levels, and unpermitted businesses, such as smoke shops. So we handle those with a few others, such as unpermitted daycares is another one that's up and coming. We've got a few of those. But these are some of the most common violations that we deal with in the city. Next slide, please. The way our complaints work, generally we get the majority of them from 311. I get a lot of emails or phone calls in. I prefer to have everything funneled through me, being the supervisor. When there were just two other zoning enforcement officers, I would try to split one to make sure that no one's getting overwhelmed with cases. But even now, I keep an eye on the cases coming through so that I understand what's being sent to us. Is it actually a zoning violation? And make sure that I assign them to the right person depending on our zones. We do have zones for our ZOs, which is a big help for us. So each ZO is assigned to a zone to handle those issues in that zone. Basically what a ZO would do is review the information as it comes to them for the zoning enforcement, look at the property and understand the property prior to going out to do an inspection. And when they go out, if they see the inspection and it exists and they come back, they take photographs of the violation, come back to the office, do the work on the property, issue a notice of violation if it is necessary. If there's not a violation, we just noted that in the property, in a cellar that we work out of, and then move on to the next. The way our violations work at this point, we do a notice of violation, which basically, as you know, we have noticed a violation on the property, and then we let you know the violation, the regulations that's being violated, and then assist you in how to abate the violation. If that does not work, the next step is a citation. The citation is $150 per day per violation until the violation is abated. The next step is a failure to pay notice. If you ignore the citation, which sometimes happens, the failure to pay will explain to you exactly how much that citation now amounts to. The last one I did was $20,000. That tends to get the attention of most people, and then we start getting the calls. Okay, what do I need to do to abate the violation? If that does not work, then the next step would be an assessment or judgment lien legal. The abatement agreement is in between the assessment. If we get the call from the failure to pay that, okay, what do we need to do? We will create an abatement agreement. The agreement holds you to fixing the property violation. We have very few judgment liens. The last lien I had on a property was in 2022. A judgment lien is an encumbrance on a property. I'm working with a property owner now that got a lien in 2024 and now has decided that they want to evade the property, and what do we need to do now to do so. It's a little bit of wrangling to get some of these done. Attorney Vassallo is working with me on this one. But these are some of the steps that we take in order to abate a violation. And just for the record, it's not the money that we want. We want compliance. We want it so that your neighbors can be at peace on their property, and so that your violation isn't violating their property. The citation is to get your attention and to work with us. We have developed a new SOP, Standard of Operating Procedures. I did request that we have our older violation procedures looked at, and that was by Tyke, who's been our consultant. And actually, Tyke members are members of CASIO, the Connecticut Association of Zoning Enforcement Officers, who actually certify zoning enforcement officers. So they know about zoning enforcement. And so I requested that they help us create SOPs based upon our regs and the state regulations that work for us. And they actually have been working very well, very well. So with that being said, we're hoping that the SOPs continue to work for us. We're hoping that we can get a new zoning enforcement officer through the ARPA grant. And then we're also hoping to, in the future, put a proposal out for 2 new permanent positions for zoning enforcement officers, so that we can have 4 zoning enforcement officers for the city of Hartford, as well as chief zoning administrator who also takes on cases.
Thank you, Darren. With that, we'll gladly take any questions committee members may have.
Thank you, Ms. Triggs, and thank you, Mr. Deutsch. If you can pull your screen down so I can see who has questions, comments. Let's see. Oh, Councilman Gale, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Mr. Deutsch, Ms. Cheeks. I have to say, I just love all the planning. It's just,
Yeah, right.
no, I love it. While we sleep, who knew? There's all these things that are taking place, and they're all wonderful, and they're all, designed to make the city a better place to live and whatnot. And so that's, kudos for doing all of that. If I could speed up bike lanes on Farmington Avenue and on Asylum Avenue, I would, since I ride a bike on both of those, and they're, they're not always there, but little concerned that federal grants are being put on hold. I assume that that's part of the whole chaos that's taking place in Washington and nothing to do with anything that the city has done. Just kind of trying to understand a little bit of this. I think Ms. Cheeks, you mentioned that there were 912 inspections, zoning inspections that took place in a prior 12 months. And then in terms of numbers of violations that were initiated, I think the number was 37 were staff initiated. So is that 37 of the 912 inspections? Am I reading that right, or is...
Okay, so the 912 inspections, it sounds like a lot. So say we had 300 cases. With each case that we're working on, we're not just doing one inspection. Say we get the initial inspection done to see if there's a violation. Oh, we see there's a violation.
So the 37 that are initiated, that's out of how many cases?
Yeah, so that's out of how many cases. So they when my inspectors go out, they may be going out for their inspections on particular cases that they're working on. But lo and behold, they're out and they're working on a case, and then they're riding by and they see another violation. They self-initiate, which they can. I just ask that they let me know, because I keep tabs of a lot of the cases that come through that they also do. I just want to know what it is that what else they're seeing out there. They can create the case themselves, just let me know. So those are self-initiated cases that they see on their own. The other ones are the 311 cases, the emailed cases that I get, phone calls that we get about violations that others see.
Okay, thank you for that. Just so that you guys have it in mind, we as city council members, we will often get calls from residents who are not having a good experience with your department. And so we don't see, we don't get calls about all the great experiences that people have, and I can certainly hear about a lot of the great things that are going on. But we get calls about the bad experiences, and then we feel obliged to discuss it and see if there's if this is appropriate or not. When you talk about sort of the staff initiated things, I had a particular example that I actually brought up at the budget hearing with a staff initiated zoning violation that from my perspective, seemed totally unnecessary. I never want to dampen somebody's fervor, and we want our employees to love their jobs and feel good at it. At the same time, we want things to be put in perspective. I'm getting calls from I get calls from a building owner where there's apparently illegal activities taking place, tenants that are trying to conduct a legitimate business being offended by tenants that are conducting a noxious business. And those seem like pretty important things. So I certainly hope that we can keep the perspective as to, especially when we're down in manpower and possibly losing when ARPA runs out. Certainly, we heard you, and we'll take these things up at budget time. But certainly hope there's a little triage there. This same example then caused me to take a look at one of your zoning ordinances, 28-219, which was the specific ordinance that was mentioned here. And I know Mr. Deutsch mentioned, perhaps some text amendments or changes to ordinances. I did not understand how that ordinance was at all applicable to that case at hand. That ordinance seems to talk about when you're demolishing a historic building, historic structure, doing some sort of real work to a historic structure. In the particular case, somebody was repairing, and so it raised the question with me. I mean, does that ordinance need to be addressed? And I don't know, Mr. Deutsch, if that's what you were speaking to earlier, or if you have any comments on that tonight.
It is, Councilman. I think the ordinance itself, there could be some clarification of when permits are needed, historic review is needed for certain types of work, as well as clarification in the historic guidelines the Historic Preservation Commission uses, and that staff take as guidance from the commission when we're determining which work needs to be brought to the commission or subject to historic review, and which work doesn't. It's currently our understanding that if there are certain minor alterations, those may not require any kind of historic review, but it's not clearly defined what those alterations are. That's something that we will be executing a contract with the Historic Preservation Alliance to further develop and look at our own internal operating procedures. So in the case of a violation, under current guidance, if a historic permit was not received for the work that it's our understanding requires that permit, then that would lead to a violation, a case being opened under the guidance we have. But we are looking to change that guidance. We have started those conversations with the commission members, and they also are receptive to that. It just needs to be a little more explicit and detailed when reviews are required and what the extent of that is, and hopefully having it be as often as possible an administrative review or not a review at all if it's obvious that it's a typical repair, it's not visible from the street, or it's not otherwise detracting from a historic property or district.
Yeah, it seems to make sense. I mean, it's not like you need more work. Let's try to use common sense to streamline where we can. So I look forward to seeing that. Along the same lines, we recently had this come up. It hasn't moved forward yet, to my knowledge, but Trinity College having an issue with their movie theater that's been there for 55 years, wanting to do what a lot of movie theaters have done, and that is to serve alcohol. We seem to have built right into our zoning code the allowance for nonprofit theaters to have alcohol, and yet somehow Trinity was told they're potentially not allowed to do this. So it seems to be we have two different sections of the ordinance, one saying you might be able to do something and one saying you might not. So again, I mean, from a council perspective, we just look for you folks at planning to figure these things out so that the city moves forward and doesn't come to a standstill and people don't call us. So I don't know what thoughts you have. I take it that there is some workaround that's going to allow Trinity to do this in a relatively easy manner.
Yeah, and our goal is always to get applications to yes, to identify a path of approval. It's obviously consistent with city goals and promotes business development. In the case of Cine Studio, you're right, there is a section of the code specifically for nonprofit theaters on a university campus. The issue is that despite Cine Studio, as far as we know, being the only theater that would meet that definition, the zoning of the property does not allow for the use, either administratively or by commission review. That may have been a change to the zoning in 2016 or at some other point. Otherwise, we don't see a reason why that definition would exist, but then it wouldn't be allowable by the zoning. But despite that, we are looking at how to have that permit be approved so they can ultimately get their liquor license. We think they've been using a caterer's license for serving liquor to date. And so it's a little bit of a change from what they were doing before, but we're still hoping to find a way that they can, or legally, the case can be made that it's an existing non-conforming use that was present before the zoning regulations were changed, and for that reason, the use can be allowed to continue. Otherwise, most likely they would have to apply to change the zoning, and staff would assist in that. But we always try to find the most straightforward pathway to approval. It is sort of a common sense case. So in this instance, we're hoping, we're just asking for some additional information from the applicant to build that case, to have evidence that this was a pre-existing use and will be allowed to continue rather than having to.
I can testify to having gone to the theater for 50 years. So let me be Exhibit A in terms of its pre-existing use. But well, thank you for that. And I think you hear some of my frustration with some of these things. We just and I appreciate hearing from you that that this is the goal, that at all times what we're looking to do, as Ms. Cheek said, you're looking to make the city a nicer place for all of us to live by cleaning up zoning violations and economically trying to move the city forward when people are coming in and looking to spend money in our city. We want to make sure that the planning process is not a deterrent, but helpful, and that you have the people there. And I can tell you that at the council level, it's something that I've been very much aware of and have argued multiple times over the years for more money for your department and increased staffing for your department, because I recognize the incredible importance of having a very robust planning department. It does represent the future of the city in many ways. So very much looking to work with you folks at all times. And again, certainly appreciative of all the work you do. The last thing that I threw at you in my email today was and we can take that offline if you like, because it's just very specific. There was a decision made in 2013, and apparently the person for whose benefit the decision was made was told by the planning department that decision doesn't exist. So it just seems a little strange. And I don't need an explanation of that now, but I would like one at some point. Thank you, Madam Chair. I know I've taken up a bit of time here, but we certainly appreciate the presentation.
Yes, Councilman Gale, I think we have to get back again to what the committee used to do, presentation from the division. So Director Deutsch and Ms. Cheeks, the zoning administrator. Thank you guys very much for the presentation. So my pet peeve, is going to be signs within the city. I know we have zoning regulation signs, but I don't think those are being actually, the enforcement isn't there. We're not looking, we got main thoroughfares that come in and out of the city. and people are putting up signage all over the place. It doesn't, if we're talking about, keeping our city, making it friendly business and it looks good, really would love some attention to be placed on those signs all over that are not in your zone, that is not zoned for them to do.
Madam Chair, if I might, signs are a huge one of the violations that we do a lot, and we are working on a project right now regarding the signs um, um, in a particular part of the city. But just to understand, it's not just the signs that we will be looking at, because with signs, we'll go through and we'll look at, okay, were these signs permitted? We may also find that not only the signs weren't permitted, but the business wasn't permitted. On top of that, we may also find that not only the sign wasn't permitted, the business wasn't permitted, but the property may be also be historic. So this is what's a project. This is one of the things we're talking about with not just doing enforcement, but now we have something that becomes a little bit bigger, and now is a project which takes time and which we will need more bodies to be able to do all of that on top of. So we do when we say about enforcement and going out and doing and seeing a zoning violation, what have you, there's other things that we do also need to take on projects such as signs, construction site reviews, to make sure that the sites that are being worked on are in compliance, which is also a project. There's a couple other projects that are coming down the pike that I'm not cringing at, but I'm thinking about, okay, the time that we're going to need to be able to put into these. Um, and it's going to be all hands on deck, all hands on deck. So we are looking at signage. We have been looking at signage. It just with our numbers have fluctuated over the years, and so I'm hoping right now we're going to be at a good spot by the end of this year to be able to do some more work. But don't you worry, we're getting to the signage. We
Well,
will
thank
be.
you so very
You're
much.
welcome,
And
ma'am.
I'm hearing the plea for more zoning enforcement.
I will
So we're
always
hearing
fight for more zoning enforcement
so
officers.
we're hearing this. Councilman Gale and I are hearing this. And over the last several budget, I know Councilman Gale has tried to put in for a couple, new zoning officers. So I've known him since I've been on council with him. That is one of the things he has tried to do over the last couple of years. So I'm hearing this. Then sign was, as I said, I know, one of the issues I think Councilwoman Rosado is going to be working regarding bike lanes. One of the things I think I saw or was told of, there is in front of Capitol Prep, right there. How can you put a bike lane in front of Capitol Prep? Does that make, that's where all the buses pick up the kids, drop off in the mornings. Could you take a look at that?
Yes, Councilman Surgeon, that is one of the bike routes that's identified in the bicycle master plan, and you may also be referencing the Department of Transportation plans for redoing that intersection, which includes some of those bike lanes. We know that Capitol Prep, the bus drop off, needs to be addressed even without a bike lane. There's some confusion around that and congestion, and so the Public Works Department is currently looking at that and having our on-call traffic engineers do an analysis of possible changes to make the drop-off operations more efficient and safer. The bike lane plans, I can only say that there's nothing that is really designed or committed to as of yet beyond the bicycle master plan.
Okay. Well, I believe Councilman Rosado is working on that, so I won't belabor that issue. But is it possible you can send us a copy of that report? your presentation so we can share with everyone on the council. I think it was, you know, not waiting until budget time to actually see, the amount of work and what you guys are doing is certainly an education, before that budget process begins. So just want to thank and appreciate what you have done to put together.
Madam
So,
Chair, I before you
sure, go
close,
ahead.
I'd have one more comment.
Mhm.
Good
Go ahead,
time?
sir.
Oh, okay. I forgot to mention something, and it reminded me as you've been talking. Something for you to think about. Ms. Cheeks mentioned that one of the primary zoning issues that they face is parking on front lawns. You get all kinds of
Yes.
complaints from people who cars parked on front lawns around the city. Understanding that issue, several years ago, I took a look at other ways of enforcing that. One of the things that this city has is a parking authority that has people in vehicles driving all over the city all the time. They probably have more eyes on the city than any other department, except maybe sanitation. However, they are prohibited by state statute from doing anything other than 11 things that are listed in that state statute. But that statute could be amended to say that the parking authority could do anything else that the city assigned it to. And the city could assign to the parking authority the giving out of, you could create a zoning violation that's a ticket that your parking authority people give out. So something you could think about. You would need to get the mayor's attention to make him put it on as a legislative priority to get, and because what you're looking for is an enabling statute from the state, which takes those 11 things that any parking authority can do and adds a 12th one that says, such other things as the municipality may reasonably assign to the parking authority. And then, of course, you'd have to work on how you would do that. Maybe it's unrealistic, but I just throw it out there because I thought it was kind of an interesting way of combining our city services to make us more efficient. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Again, Mr. Deutsch, Ms. Cheeks, thank you so very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
It was very educational, and I'm glad you all are very serious in taking a look at all the zoning violations that's going on throughout the city. And yes, we did hear you lobbying for more staffing, so we heard, okay?
Thank you.
So thank you so very much. And seeing that we have no other item on the agenda, I am going to adjourn the meeting. So good night, everyone, and be
Good
safe.
night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.